back again with the Hurt Handbook. We have a familiar face back after last week. That was rough, man. It's harder than I thought to talk about MMA for like 35 minutes.
I doubt it, man.
I was trying, it was, because sometimes, when you're looking into the camera and, you want to, transition to something else, you're like, what should I even say? I'm like, because I have nobody to play the ideas.
Exactly. There's just someone to, fill in, give their 2 cents on something, whereas, it's just you just kind of just going off. I mean, I like the style you went with it, a more condensed video type style.
Yeah. I said I just didn't want to look in the camera and talk for an hour because it's one shot, just one person. At least with both of us, there's some activity and shit. We can fuck with each other and all that. But
all right, well, it's good to be back. Anyways, pretty good card to come back to too. Honestly,
there were some good moments, that's for sure. I feel like all those cards this one that have the lackluster type main event usually end up having some good moments. I think that this one definitely did. And I say we just get right into it. So obviously in the main event we had Holly Holm versus Ketlen Vieira. And Ketlen Vieira won the split decision, and that's probably where I feel like we're probably just gonna focus for this one, just because the fight was pretty good. I mean, there was some cool moments from both, but I don't know how 2 of those judges gave that to Vieira. I'm not the type to scream robbery really a lot, but I don't know how they gave 3 rounds to Ketlen Vieira on that one.
Nah, it's fights like that where I'm glad that I'm not a UFC judge and I'm just a fan that gets to watch and talk about it, because that had to have been one of the closest main events of the year, let alone fights of the year, that we've seen so far and that we will see this year, in my opinion. I had it at 2-2 going into the final round. I'm not sure about
fair.
you.
See, I had it in the end of the fight, I had it 49-46, but I could see how it could be 48-47, just because, round 2 was definitely Ketlen Vieira's, from the submission attempt, and she was just doing good in that round as it is. And, I forget if it was round 1 or round 3 that Ketlen caught Holly at the end, and she kind of, stunned her. So if, you're going to give, another round, I guess I could see that one, too. But me personally, I had it 49-46 home. I don't know. I don't see how they could even.
I know
give
Holly
that to
had that knockdown in, I believe, round 3 or 4. It was
it the body kick?
Yeah, it was the body kick.
That was a pretty sweet. Ball. I think that was round 3, and I don't know if that was the same round that Ketlen landed the good shot on her. I think it might not have been, but I'm not sure. I just I don't see how a whole fan base can see or can think that Holly won and pretty clearly, and then 2 of the 3 judges go the other way. It makes no sense, and I don't know how to fix that. A lot of people are open scoring, or I don't know if you know what Verdict MMA is on Instagram, and they have an app and stuff. It's all right, but people I don't want fans judging fights. It's fun. It's cool to do for fun.
That's
and
what
maybe
I'm
put on a
saying.
broadcast. But if that ever becomes the real thing, I think we're in trouble. Because if you remember, do you remember for that?
There's always just gonna be a bias.
It's just too hard.
A bias behind maybe not every decision, but they're fans at the end of the day.
Did you see that Rose won the Rose Namajunas? She won it was the Crypto.com fighter bonus of the night. It's supposed to be the most exciting fighter, best performance, and obviously against Carlos Esparza that was not, and she lost. I think she won I think it was I don't know if it was a full Bitcoin or it was $30K in crypto, some shit like that. But it was just so funny. I'm that's why we can't have fans judging fights. But what do you think of open scoring though? That one I'm curious to hear what you think.
I don't. It's always with the judges. Clearly there's a whole committee and whatnot. All these guys are qualified and they're in this this spot for a reason. So I really try to look at it objectively and give the benefit of the doubt.
And people got to remember too that a lot of them are boxing judges that are just employed by the commission, so they come to judge MMA.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just especially this fight in particular, it's even more tougher because I found it the Ketlen even when her name was called for the victory. When they were
She
obviously,
looked pretty
even she
shocked.
was like, "Whoa!" Like,
I don't know about
all
that.
right.
That's why she probably started crying. She's like, "That was a gift from God right there." But I mean, with the fight itself, though, it's just. Well, actually, I don't even think I fully got your answer on the open scoring, though. So,
I think it's worth it. I definitely think it's worth it.
I don't mind it.
I don't mind it either. But I don't know. It's like, and even like, I mean, I personally don't find the decision to be egregious. Once again, I think that fight was. I personally thought that fight was just so close, and once again, I had a 2-2 going in the last round, so pretty much from there, like I don't have a problem with the split decision victory. I thought that was fair to either. But, either way you're going to slice it, whether it went to Holly Holm or Ketlin.
Like, I'll get into Ketlin, like, a little bit, because, like, I'm not even trying to, like, shit on her, but, like, I kind of disagree in the sense that, like, I don't know how... I don't know how they could give that to Ketlin Vieira. I just don't see it. Like, I thought that was pretty clear cut. Like, I thought some of the rounds could have been close, but the fight overall, I thought Holly Holm
I think Holly has had a lot more, like, of control time and whatnot. There was a lot. They were in the clinch a lot with mainly Ketlin up against the cage. And, I thought Holly was landing, and I thought it was a pretty good, well-rounded performance from her, to be honest. Yeah,
she showed a lot, like, about her grappling, because, like, I figured that if there was one spot where Ketlin had a big advantage, it'd be there, but... I mean, Holly's takedown defense is really good, and she's strong in the clinch. But one of the other things about, like, this fight, though, is, like, I do want to say this for Ketlin Vieira, like, against Holly Holm, a lot of people tend to struggle because they can't really touch her. I will say that Ketlin did look like she, like, deserved to be in there, and, like, it wasn't just, like, a typical Holly Holm main event. Like, but, like, I don't know, the thing is, it's kind of like, Holly... You can't come to fight her just trying to box. I don't, like, people constantly do that, and it always leads to them losing. And I thought it should have led to her losing, Vieira losing to her too. And obviously Vieira got the decision, but it's like, you think of other fights with Holly Holm, like Irene Aldana is one that I think of, or even like if you go backwards, like Ronda Rousey and stuff like that. Like, these people are trying to come at her, like, with their hands. Can't do that with someone who's that elusive. Like, you got to throw some, like, leg kicks, body kicks. Like, I always say that. Like, I don't understand why they don't throw more kicks like that when people are trying to, like, move laterally, like, and try and fight on the outside, because, like, leg kicks stifle movement.
I think for a bantamweight too, she's one of, like, the bigger bigger bantamweights in the division. So, like, why wouldn't she want to,
Well, she fought at featherweight at one point, like Holly Holm, I'm pretty sure. I think she fought. She fought for a title. I swear to God, it might have been. I forget who it was against. I think it was.
I just always thought she was a career bantamweight.
Yeah, no, she fought like it was like 1 or 2 times. Let's see. I gotta know. I think it was against No, get the. Okay, no, she's had a few actually. So she lost to Chris Cyborg. I was right about that one, and then she went down to bantamweight for one fight, and then she went up. She fought Jermaine Durandamy and lost, and I think that's when... Oh, wait, I'm literally reading it backwards. See, this is what I get when I don't go on Tapology and I'm just reading on Google. Because, like, why would they list it like that? Like, why would the earliest be on the bottom, right? That makes no sense. But, alright, so never mind. She fought Jermaine Durandamy, and I think that was when Durandamy won the title at featherweight, and then she went back down to bantamweight, and then she tried again at featherweight and lost to Chris Cyborg. And I think she fought Megan Anderson the year after that at featherweight, but besides that, not much else. It's all bantamweight from there. But she's like a big girl for that weight class. That's very strong. I think that's like one of the.
And then that just goes to what you were just saying. Like, instead of going at her with the hands and trying to piece her up that way, like, why not shoot for leg kicks, try to chop her down a little bit. And then that's just all that's gonna do is just open up takedown opportunities, and you just go from there. It's
just when people are like fighting elusive fighters, I just don't get how they're trying to, like, it's the same thing. It's almost like like how people say the definition of insanity is like doing the same thing over and over again. Like, have they not seen Holly Holm fight enough times to know that strategy does not work? Like, the girl's just too elusive. Like, it doesn't matter if she's 40. She has a good style.
I feel, and even like, to your credit of how the decision went and Holly Holm being robbed. If I'm not mistaken, Ketlin Vieira, I forget what round it was going into, but I'm pretty sure Ketlin Vieira's corner was literally like, pressuring her to, like, all right, we need to finish here. Like,
yeah, even like as I'm saying, even they knew. Like, it's just I don't see how they could have given her 3 rounds. I could see 2, but I can't see 3.
It's just weird for me because I'm like going into this fight, I was pretty high in Ketlen Vieira, and just now even like no matter which way you slice it, like W's next to her name, it's in the books. Like nothing you can change about it.
What do the rankings look like?
I just personally think she's just scratching the surface of like what she's capable of in this division. To be honest, like.
I think she's really good. I personally, for this fight, I thought it was just like a bad matchup stylistically.
Yeah.
But, like, I'm definitely still high on her, though. Like, let's see where she's at right now. Holly Holmes is number 2 and Ketlen's number 5. I don't know. I mean, I think she already got knocked out by Aldana. Amanda Nunes is fighting Juliana Pena on July 30th. That's official now. So, like, I don't know. I think you just have to wait unless you have her fight Raquel Pennington. I don't know if she's fought Raquel Pennington. Like, that division, like, it's weird. Like, I feel like with women's MMA, like, a lot of these girls, like, they fought, like, before they got to the UFC sometimes. What the hell? Alright. What? I'm so confused, dude. Alright. I just looked up Raquel Pennington. I feel like this is just worth noting. I looked up Raquel Pennington, and there's, like, a bunch of things with, like, Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and I need to know.
Huh?
So there's... Oh, okay. That's why they're saying mistaken identity. So she got kind of caught up in the madness. I hate ads on the internet, dude. I'm done. I'm literally Xing out of it. But, anyway, it said something, like she was just... It was someone on the stand for Amber Heard, and her name was Raquel Pennington, and it was like, a UFC fighter dragged into the drama. I'm like, what the fuck is this thing even talking about? But yeah, no, I don't even think I ended up. Didn't I like look her up to find out whether she? This is what I get. I get distracted too easily. I mean, while I'm pulling it up though, I mean, I think we've talked about this privately. We might as well talk about it on the podcast. Who you believe, Johnny Depp or Amber Heard?
I personally would like to be more educated on the case before I would like. Yeah, I personally, but still, from what I've seen, like outside looking in, I think Johnny Depp is like.
He's a man.
It's not even because of that. I just feel like it's just being kind of like framed in a way or whatever, and just being made to be someone that he's really not. It feels like. But once again, like, I'm not as educated enough, to be honest, on it just yet, so I don't really feel like it's my place to take a side.
Well, in the meantime, I did find out that Raquel Pennington has not fought Ketlen Vieira. So, I mean, if maybe they want to, like, give her another fight before a title fight. Because, like, I think it's hard to give someone a title fight off of a shaky split decision. So, like, I feel like her and Raquel Pennington would be a good title eliminator.
You definitely can't do that. Like, just thrust her into a title. Even though, like, I personally think, like, once that opportunity does come for her, I think she's going to be able to hold her own and, like, win or lose, like, just put up, like, a really good showing and just show that she belongs. But,
I think if she fights Amanda Nunes, she might get fucked up, honestly. Juliana Pena, though, might be a...
I don't know. It depends on how I feel like it depends on how Amanda Nunes comes back.
I can't even, like... That fight's, like, crazy to me. Like, every time I see that, like, it got, like, booked for the rematch, I'm like, that's fucking wild that Amanda Nunes lost. Like, it's, like, almost like a blip on the radar. Like, nobody even, like, really talks about it. Like, it's crazy. Like, that's one of the biggest upsets, I think, in, like, the whole sport. But, I don't know. I mean... I think that second fight is definitely like more interesting coming in than the first one was, just because of what happened in December. Mm-hmm. I feel like I want to see like the rest of how like Tough is going and stuff, like, because I feel like that's actually like a good judge at how people's composure like are and how they deal with their opponent. But I actually heard Amanda Nunes, she was talking about more like why she left ATT, and like it's interesting. I hear like more and more people saying this. Like Colby kind of said the same thing when he left, but like. She said that at the time, like, as she was leaving, when she got there, she was, like, the big star of ATT. She brought the belts. It was, like, her and probably, like, Joanna. And now, like, you got all these other girls coming in, like Yana Kunitskaya and Kayla Harrison. And it's, like, she says she almost didn't feel safe in the gym anymore because it's, like, not in the sense that she felt like someone was going to, like, swing at her or something, but, like, in the sense that, like, well... her coaches are my coaches. Like, I don't feel right. Like, I don't feel right about training with people that I'm gonna might have to fight.
Yeah.
And like that's interesting to me because like when I see people like leave,
I
their
also
camps,
feel
I
like
get
too.
nervous,
There's just so many egos that can clash. Because like obviously like the American
Big
top
team,
team, like they're American top team for a reason. Like
Yeah.
they simply just have like the best fighters in the world there, and then. By virtue, like, there's just a bunch of... Exactly like Amanda Nunes is saying, like, she's going to be fighting these people that she's training with, like, just by virtue of that.
It's
like,
just so awkward. Like, because, like, usually when a fighter is, like, has a huge win streak and they lose and they leave their gym, that makes me a little nervous. So I'm like, well, why is that all of a sudden not the option? But if that was her reasoning, I get that 100%. Because then I don't feel... Because before that, I figured she just left because she lost. And I'm like, that doesn't... like bode well, because usually when people do that, it just means that like they're just mentally they're not fully there, because that they think a lot of them, they don't want to blame themselves after losing, like after a long win streak. So it's just when someone leaves the gym like that, you just think that it's like an ego thing sometimes, and in this case I kind of figured it was until she opened up.
That's what I was thinking too.
So now that we kind of like went over the main event, and I feel like all the things that have to do with that, maybe we can go on to the co-main event, which honestly was I think was definitely fight of the night. I did one fight of the night. Michelle Pereira beats Santiago Ponzinibbio. Great fight, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, early on, it looked like Pereira was going to be running away with it. Great footwork. He was landing a lot of shots to the body, but like as the fight goes on, and like people fight him and they get reads on him and he starts to get hit, he starts to brawl. Like, do you see what I'm saying or not?
No, he's got like a very eccentric style to him.
He looks so different though from when he fought Connolly and he was doing like the flips and stuff. It's like, because now he has like such better like composure in there. He's not going crazy, and like his gas tank is still like not up there. Like, because even in this fight you can clearly see it. Like, it was almost like a tale of two fights. Like, a round and a half, he won, and then the second part of the fight, Ponzinibbio was piecing him up pretty much. It's just, I thought round 2 was the swing round of that one, and I gave it to Pereira, so I see why they gave it to him in the end. I don't know if you agree with that.
Well, I liked the 29-28 decision. Whereas I think one judge had it 30-27.
That's
forget
true. Do you remember for who?
I think it was for Ponzinibbio too, which was
that's
a little
mind-boggling.
Yeah, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But no, yeah, what I actually decided being, even though like a honestly unanimous decision victory for Pira wouldn't have surprised me, but I thought split decision was fair, especially 29-28.
It was a close fight.
That round 3 is just like, I feel like the round 2, even round 1 was definitely more like a feeling out, not as high volume and whatnot, strikes being landed.
It was one-sided too.
Yeah,
Ponzinibbio wasn't landing as much, and Pereira was landing all those kicks to the body.
The fight just progressed the longer it went on, and then round 3 was just an absolute clash. So.
Yeah, that last minute of that fight, that was pretty awesome when they were just throwing it. I love that when people are just fighting with heart at that point. You're just so tired. Mm-hmm. 14 minutes in, you're right there at the end. You just got to give it your all. I love when people like actually like go balls to the wall. Yeah. There's so many people, like I can't even think of specific fights just because there's like so many of them, but like there'll be fighters who are clearly like down in a fight, and then they'll have that opportunity in the final minute to just go crazy. And I don't know if it's cardio or a mental thing, but like a lot of them, they just don't go for it, and like I don't get that sometimes. But I think it's probably because of cardio. But like even that though, look at these two guys, like they were clearly exhausted and they were still going for it. So like, I don't know. My thing is like, what's your excuse?
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like it. Not even sometimes. Like most of the time, honestly, it could be like a mental thing. Whereas I feel like the fighter is always, obviously you have the corner and your coaches for a reason to tell you that you need to do more, or you're not doing enough or something like that. But like. It's the fight game. Like, everyone's gonna have an ego to some, extent to them, and in their head they're probably thinking like, I've done enough to win and whatnot. Like, even if like deep down and they're like heart of hearts, like they know that they didn't, like just in the moment of the fight, it's probably just like sometimes. And they're also, and then also just like just that like fear of like, Okay, it's weird because
some
like
people
you
probably
don't
want to get stopped.
Yeah, I mean like because you never want to leave it into the judge's hands to decide.
Well, look at the main event. Do you see the look on Holly Holmes' face after that decision?
Yeah, exactly. Because you get a curveball like that thrown at you, and it's like,
that's why MMA betting is so hard. You could be 100% right about besides maybe the cage control, like in terms of like what was going on the feet. I know I'm going back to the main event again, but like Holly Holm, like she looked so good on the feet, and like when they were at that distance, that's kind of how I figured it would look. But like that just shows you how like unpredictable MMA is, because like you finish a fight like that, a majority of people think, oh yeah, Holly Holm definitely won that. Probably people betting on her are like, yes, I just made some money, and then the decision goes the other way,
dude.
And you're like, what is happening? It's tough. That's what people got to realize though about MMA,
especially for a 5-round fight. Because it's those 4th and 5th rounds that are really like the deciding like factor, obviously, and from there it's just like.
Well, even in the co-main, like we were just talking about, even that one was like fairly close, and Ponzinibbio didn't look too happy after that decision was read either. He got out of the cage right away. He looked pretty pissed, but like. Overall, I just
and that's what it goes back to. Like, I think it's more of a mental thing because, like, they train like so hard and whatnot to go through this camp and these weight cuts to get in the cage and perform this fight. And so it's like in that case, it's like it's never, once again, like that's why you have coaches and a corner to tell you like what you're doing wrong and what you're not. But and the fighter, obviously, you're in there with that mentality that you're the best, you can't be touched, and that.
Dog mentality.
Except the dog mentality.
dog
mentality. That no matter which way the fight goes, you're gonna be the one with your hand raised at the end. So that's my view on it.
At the top of the card, we did see those like 2 decisions, but honestly, like there were some finishes on this card in the prelims and the main card that I just wanted to highlight. Like some of them I'll probably get a little more into than others, because some of them were just like, we could talk like ad nauseum about like the bigger fights because they mean things with like in the rankings and stuff, but like some of those prelims, like you just gotta be like, yeah, this guy had a nice fight. But the first one I wanted to talk about was one of them on the main card. I'm gonna get this one right. I heard Joe Martinez and DC say it. Chidi Njokuani. That's what it is. I'm certain.
I'm gonna go with you because I had a hard time too.
Okay, I think it's Njoku and then Ani, and then just put it together.
All right.
I feel like one of like the highlights, like, cause when we started this podcast and like we just like shoot the shit about MMA, one of like the highlights I feel like that I never thought would be a highlight is just how much we butcher people's names and shit. Like, there's so many fighters in the UFC like with names that like me and you would just struggle with.
I mean, sometimes like even even if we know like, all right, it's not even worth pronouncing or even trying, because like you just know like more than likely you're not gonna say it right, and it's just go with the first name, last name, whatever name is the easiest to pronounce. Then
with this one we'll just go Chidi versus Dusko.
Yep, that works. Exactly. That's worked perfectly fine.
And in my notes I literally put one thing under this, and it was DC's like immediate reaction, because I was literally dying. He just goes immediately when he gets knocked out, because that was a vicious elbow.
No.
Like he was out. Like he was like still awake, but he wasn't there. And like Chidi, that was a power shot by him. And then DC just goes, holy crap! I was like, you could tell he wasn't ready for something like that. And it happened towards like the end of the round, if I'm not mistaken. Too,
no, it wasn't even like Dusko got knocked out cold or anything either. Because like it was just like there was no coming back from that. You got knocked down from that elbow, like. If that fight doesn't get stopped, then Chidi's just going to lay the ground and pound, and that's how you're going to get actually knocked out cold.
He probably would have been out cold if he would have landed a couple more shots.
So, man, just that was another fun one there. Because I didn't see the elbow coming either. I thought we would at least get the first. I thought we would at least get through the first round, but
like if you want to like look at like how to throw an elbow in the clinch, was like textbook. The way he did it, right over the shoulder. And like it was just clean, right on top of the ear, like right the temple.
Yeah,
just clean shot. And that was a great win. I didn't know much about Chidi coming in, and I knew Dusko and stuff because he's been around for a little bit too. But that was a great win by Chidi. So I mean, I'm definitely excited to see what comes with him in the future. Another person who was exciting to me. Didn't know who he was before this, but I'm a fan now, and it's probably because of his nickname. Ugly Man Joe Holmes. Now,
another awesome knockout.
He comes in, He's got like the mustache twirled, and then I see his nickname. I'm like, who gave him that? First of all, like who came up to him in the gym and, hey, ugly man, and he was like, that's the nickname I gotta keep. Like, who knows? He was probably like something stupid like the Juggernaut before that, and then someone called him ugly. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna show you. I just thought it was funny, but like you said though, it was a great finish because like. This one was pretty early on because he hit his opponent with the big knee early, and that clearly like changed the fight right off the bat. But then like it just showed like great instincts like finishing him, like because a lot of people like they blow their wad trying to knock someone out after something like that. He stayed composed, did what he had to do, and then eventually got that choke. Like ugly man put on a performance, dude. That was like DC said, that wasn't an ugly performance. I thought that was pretty amazing. Like I didn't know if we was coming in, but I know him now. I'm a fan.
I don't know. Could have something to do with, like, you know, fight game, like, you know, obviously like after like such a, you know, a full like 5-3 round fight, like you probably, you know, not supposed to look the greatest afterwards. I don't know. That could be my guess, but
I'm curious.
Regardless.
Like, I'm going to look him up real quick. Now that I got Tapology up and I'm not going to be an idiot and use Google. Let's see. I almost put Ugly Man instead of Joseph Holmes. I feel like Joseph Holmes too is such like an average name. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like John Smith type thing. So I feel like the nickname really is just like amazing. Where does this guy train at? I'm just kind of curious. He fights out of Texas. Okay. That's kind of cool. I was honestly kind of hoping he was like local, like towards our area and stuff. That would have been cool. But I'm a fan of him now. That finish was just so sweet. And then like honestly, the last finish that I wanted to get into because it literally like made me stand up was Uros Medic's knockout over Morales, dude. Oh my god, like hook, and like you heard it. Like it was so. That's the one thing I love about the Apex, that you hear every big shot.
Yeah.
And like after the first hook, I'm like, how's he still standing? The second one, I'm like getting up. I'm like, how the fuck is he still up? And then the third one, just like another left hook. He was
dude.
Out.
You could just, because honestly, like, you know, we didn't get to break down this card prior and whatnot, but you could just tell like from the get go, like some like that fight was just. I mean, more likely, yeah, obviously what he ended in a TKO, obviously more likely for that, but even a submission, just. There was no way that fight was ending and that was going to the judges. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like
I like Uros Medic. I'm a big fan of him, because like he's long, he's got precise striking, and he has power, as we can clearly see in this fight. And like clearly off like from the start, Morales' only shot was like a big overhand, and he landed a couple, but it like not anywhere near good enough.
Well,
to
yeah,
put him
like
out.
exactly, like he was.
Controlling.
It's not like he wasn't doing anything, and Uros Medic was completely one leading the dance. Like they were trading, they really were. Like it was a really fast pace, and I just from there I just knew like, all right, there's no way like this completely. I mean, obviously there's always that possibility, but just when like to me it's just like, all right, it's the first round. Like sooner or later, like shots are going to start landing, and they're going to be significant.
And when both of them got power, you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
But I'm happy that Medic got the win. He's cool. He's a cool dude. I mean, I think isn't his nickname like the Doctor or something fun? Like it's something perfect like that. Let's see. Back to Tapology we go. The Doctor. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much a lob for a guy with the last name Medic.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be better than, like, the policeman or, like, the fry cook or something stupid. I think it works. Maybe the EMT. But, I don't know. I just thought that was a great fight. I'm a big fan of his. I've been, like... I remember when he was on the Contender Series, like, I want to say, like, a couple years ago at this point, and he had, like, I think it was, like, a flying knee knockout in that. And ever since then, I've just been big on him because he's got really good striking. And, like, I want to say he had... Because he's had, like, an odd career so far in the UFC. That he's fought certain people. Yeah, he fought Jalen Turner. That's his only loss. He lost to Jalen Turner before this fight. That's crazy. I barely even remember that. He lost rear naked choke. Damn. I don't even remember that fight. It's crazy, like, when you have fights, like, every weekend like they do now. Like, how many just get swept under the rug at this point. Like, we talk about them and, like... We enjoy them in the moment, but like some of those fights that were just on like the prelims, because that was on, it said UFC 266, so that was like the Volk versus Ortega one, Nick Diaz. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna remember that one. I think it was a good one though. It's like starting to come back to me. That card was fantastic, but Anyway, those were like the main 3 finishes that I really wanted to go over for this card, just because those were the 3 that gave me like the most energy when I watched them and like rewatched them.
Yeah, dude. But, really exciting main card. Honestly, the prelims weren't that bad either.
Well,
by any
the last prelim I wanted to talk about, I know you were pretty eager to talk about it, so I'll let you start off. But Chase Hooper with a great win.
That was just literally from the beginning bell of the first round. Just, you know, I feel like they approached the entire time like, take the back. You know, I'm a better grappler than you, and I'm gonna prove it, and that's exactly what he did. Exactly, that was an absolute grappling clinic from Chase Hooper. I think just
the pace that
the way he was able to slip into just the way it just transitioned into, you know, to take the back and whatnot, all different types of, you know, holds and whatnot to keep Kalarish down. I thought it was so impressive, and even when the fight was on the feet, like he was throwing
so much better.
Exactly, dude.
Dude, when he got in the UFC, he was like 20, I think, and his striking, like, you know, with all due respect, was honestly awful. Like, he didn't really have much, like, to go. He had his chin up, didn't really have much power, wasn't, like, throwing from out of position. And then he had a hard time getting fights to the ground because he mostly just had the jiu-jitsu. But now he was even talking about it, like, he wanted to be more well-rounded. And you could see it in this fight.
Exactly. You really did. You really could see it in
I just love watching him. He's so unorthodox because, like, he's got... I think now he's starting to be get better with his striking in the sense that like he's using it to get to the clinch, and he has better wrestling now too. Yeah. He's getting takedowns, and even besides that, he still has all those like great like sweeps that he has. Like he'll pull guard and try and like get you with like a leg lock. He's just so dangerous, and the pace that he throws is nuts.
Even when I believe it was round 2 where Kalarish mainly had ground control, like in, you know, side mount and all of that. Yeah. Like I wasn't really like phased by it. Like I thought like.
And he ended the round on top, I think, full mount, laying down the ground pound. So, like, there you go. It shows that he's getting better as a fighter because, like, you know, he's not wilting in those types of positions. He's still he's fighting with the crazy pace. Those wild scrambles clearly led to Kalarish gassing out in the end there. And, like, the finish was pretty sweet. Like, I'll say this for Chase Hooper, like
that's right. They didn't even go the entire way. Like he got the finish at the end of it all too.
I feel like he could have gotten a little earlier if he would have really started with that ground. Yeah. I feel like like I said, I'm not like a pro fighter, so I have really no right to say it. But it's just like I think to myself, like if I hear the ref saying to the other guy, "Fight back," I'm not going for a submission. I'm trying to punch his head like until the ref pulls me off of him. But that's where I feel like Chase Hooper sometimes gets himself into a little trouble because he'll like start doing damage with the ground and pound, and it'll open up the neck, and he'll try and go for a submission. And loses the position.
He was shooting for that a lot.
But at the end of the fight, though, like Kalarish was just so exhausted. Like he just was doing great in the scrambles on top. Chase was, and like he was just landing so much more ground and pound. You could tell at the end he realized it too. Like, if I just keep punching, I got this.
It really didn't feel like, I mean, obviously outside of the round 2 where he was, you know, on his back for a considerable amount, it really didn't feel like there was a moment where Chase Hooper like wasn't doing something in that fight.
He just wasn't giving him a break. Like,
exactly, it was all over him. That's what you gotta do if you're trying to approach a fight that way. You're trying to get a submission finish and win via the ground. It's exactly. Chase Hooper showed exactly what you got to do in a way. So
I love that he's getting better and better too. Like his hair's shorter now. When I met him in Vegas, he still had the fro.
He had the top.
Weird. I mean, like I thought about it a little bit yesterday when I realized that he was fighting. But like this story, like obviously you already know it, but just like to tell the viewers. So I went to Las Vegas last year for UFC 264, the McGregor-Poirier trilogy, and I didn't get to go to the fights because that shit sold out in like 10 seconds. So we went it was like the official UFC watch party at the MGM Grand, and like we met like a bunch of fighters there and like meet and greets. Like I met Chito Vera, Brandon Moreno, James Krause, who actually, I should say this. RDA, of course. RDA was awesome. Yeah. I was like, I actually do want to mention him in a quick second, but I'm going to finish the story first. But Chase Hooper, though, it was funny because all the fighters were in like a VIP section, and there were meet and greets with like some of them. But Chase Hooper, I randomly I kind of spotted him in the crowd, but he was like with like his girl and like a couple people. And I was like, I don't want to be the guy to go up to someone like when they're with their people. And like eventually he got up, and my friend wanted a drink, so like I ended up just going up there with him, and then we're by like the snack stand, and I just look over to the bathrooms, and I see Chase Hooper standing there like all alone. I'm like, no way. I'll be right back. I go over to the bathroom, and I'm like, all right, I think I just got a full send. I'm like, yo, Chase. I was like, big fan, bro. I was like, you mind if I get a picture? And like, I'll put it on like the video like when I edit it. But like, it was just so funny because it's just a stupid selfie that I took. At the time, I had like a buzz cut too. I think I was almost like completely like, my head, oh my god. It was so funny. Like that trip, I have some funny pictures from that trip. There's one picture that barely anybody has ever seen. I was at the press conference on the Thursday, and I was walking outside T-Mobile Arena, and I fucking ran into Michael Carter-Williams. Oh, yeah. And like, in that picture, I literally look like his son. It's like, this guy is like 6'6", 6'7", and like, I'm like average height, I'd say, like 5'9", but like, man, like this, yeah. I cannot post that photo. Like I don't have like a crazy ego, but that one I was like, nah, no one's seeing that picture. It was just too bad. But that was a fun trip because like you said, like, you know, RDA was cool too. RDA was hyped because Conor broke his leg. Yep. They got into like the fight at like the weigh-ins, like the actual weigh-ins, and then obviously, you know, Conor ended up breaking his leg. And what happened with RDA was like, he wasn't slated on like the meet and greet or anything. He was obviously just the backup for the fight, so he was just in town. And it was at the end of the night, and he was already like walking out towards the tunnel, and then like it was like me and like maybe like 10 other people were like, RDA. And then like he saw us, and he didn't have to. He could have just dipped. No one, like, you know, what the fuck are we gonna do? Yeah. And he ran back, literally like talked to all of us. That's like not even like just took pictures. Like actually took time to like, hey, how's it going?
That's so cool.
That was pretty so cool to me. Like, but Chase Hooper though, the circumstances of meeting Chase Hooper, like once I like saw that he got this win, obviously I was like, I gotta bring this up. It's too good of a story. Like it's almost like fake.
And that was before after his last fight.
All right, I can figure this out because I know when the date was, so I can do it on good old Tapology.
His last fight doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
He had a rough go because like here we go. Yeah, no, it was after his last fight. June 12th of 2021 was his last one. Oh. And then yeah, so that fight was July. So I met him like a month after that. Yeah. He was so cool. All the fighters that I met were cool as hell. Like, I was just talking about James Krause before, and like before I get into that story, like literally he was coaching Ugly Man Joe Holmes. Maybe he gave him the nickname. Maybe James Krause gave him that nickname. If that's the case, that's kind of mean, but hey, I mean, as long as he's coaching him to wins, I fuck with it. But James Krause was like, he was cool as hell too. I was like excited when I saw that he was gonna be there for that, because like this is random as hell, but like I'm a big fan of like just all martial arts at this point, and I was watching like a grappling competition in like 2019. It was like around when Usman and Covington fought the first time, and it was him versus King Mo Lawal. And if like you guys don't know, because like he's definitely someone that's like in the older like generation. He's a great wrestler. He fought for like Strikeforce, so you know, OG of the fight game. And James Krause got him in a guillotine that was so nasty. Like, he literally just had like his King Mo had his like neck kind of just in the wrong spot. James Krause immediately locks it up and then just pulled guard like standing. And he King Mo is like standing like when the fight ended, or well, the match, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it, but that was just one of the craziest submissions I had seen in like a grappling competition to that point. And I was always like, if I ever get to meet James Krause, I have to tell him that. And then when I see his name on the thing, I'm like, no way. So first, like the way that was set up, it was cool. It was Cheeto, then like Brandon Moreno and James Krause like all in a row, and like we could like, you know, line up and take pictures or whatever. So I see Cheeto first, and at that point, like this is way before, like he didn't fight Frankie yet. He didn't obviously fight Rob Font. So he was still rising, and like at that point, his biggest win I would think was probably Sugar Sean, and I'm a big Sugar Sean fan, as anyone who knows me would realize. And I went up to him. I was like, I didn't even know what to say, so I said, "Yo, I like the Davey Grant win," because I was like, I can't just be like, "Yeah, you beat my dude, like you beat my fucking favorite fighter." So I was hyped when I met Cheeto. Was cool though. It was wild though, because he's like he's the same height as me. And, like, he's this bad motherfucker. Like, Brandon Moreno was shorter than me. Like, I'm shaking. Brandon Moreno was cool as hell. That was probably my favorite one. Because he was, like, that energy that you guys, like, if you see him on TV, that is not fake. Like, that is really how he is. And then, like I said, James Krause, I went up to him and, like, I was like, I always said that if I met you, I had to say this. And I said, like, yeah, you did this Quintet Ultra in, like, 2019, and you had this standing guillotine. And I just thought that was the dopest submission of all time. And I had to tell you that. And he was, like, you could tell he was, like, actually flattered by it. Because, like, people definitely aren't coming up to him and saying, like, oh, yeah, that grappling competition you had, like, 2 years ago was pretty awesome. So I could tell. And, like, he was, like, talking about that a tiny bit. Like, he was a cool dude. Like, it wasn't, like, one of those things where they tried to, like, rush you through it.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty cool thing. Honestly, meeting all those fighters were cool. I met Sugar Sean's whole family. That was kind of cool. That was kind of wild. Because I'm a big fan of the Bro Malley show with him and his brother. And so I'm walking into T-Mobile. I forget if it was Thursday or Friday of fight week. But obviously Sugar Sean was on that card. And I see the old, like, you know how they have the Sugar Show jerseys? It's like the Miami Vice ones, like they're the pink ones. And it said Sugar Show on the back, and I'm like, that looks a lot like his brother. And I was about to, like, ignore it and walk in, and I was like, I have to see. And I go up to him, and I'm like, hey, you're Daniel O'Malley, right? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like a big fan of, like, you and Sugar. I watch all the pods and stuff. And then, like, I was going to go take a picture with him, and then Sugar Sean's dad was like, well, I created the Sugar Show. You got to let me get in on the picture. I was like, all right, that's fair. That's fair. And I literally I'll put that picture in there, too, honestly. It's just a picture of me, Sugar Sean's brother, his dad, and his uncle. They were the coolest people, bro. I loved it. They were so nice. It was that was unexpected, to say the least. But, yeah, that Vegas trip was definitely something as it is. But that was...
No, yeah, that picture would have never been complete without his dad.
Yeah, no, I was glad that he said that, because, like, he's right. I mean, all right, yeah. You created the Sugar Show. You have, like, there's nothing else he has to say after that. But Vegas was awesome. Like, all the fighters that I met there were cool as hell. I was this close to meeting Ocho Cinco. I recognized him like a second too late. Oh, I was so mad, bro. I love Ocho Cinco.
I didn't know that. Damn.
Yeah, literally, like,
that would have been so cool.
Because we were near, like, the tunnels. He walked out of the tunnel, and he had a hat on, and I didn't really, like, catch him at first, but then, like, as he was, like, way too far away, I was like, fuck, that was fucking Ocho Cinco. I was like, I literally didn't get to meet Ocho Cinco. But, hey, Chase Hooper, RDA, Brandon Moreno, Cheeto, James Krause, I'm cool with it. And they were all awesome people. And that city is just fantastic. I want to go back. But, you know, before we go, I guess the only other thing I really wanted to get into was I was kind of sad to see Junior Dos Santos lose in Eagle FC. And I don't know if you saw any of that, like, on Instagram or anything, but it was just tough because it, like, he threw out his shoulder throwing a punch. You know, he's in his 40s. It's just like,
dang.
You hate to see that from these old legends, because you know that the UFC isn't going to give them the respect that they deserve, like, because they never do. Well, they do if you stay loyal to the promotion, but the second you don't, that's when you get cast away pretty much. Like, I don't know. It's just, with him, I know he said he felt disrespected on his way out. You know, you got other people, like, who've been in the UFC for a long time, like Anderson Silva said the same thing. Tyron Woodley didn't really say that much, but he the way that they kind of just got rid of him after that losing streak, it was kind of like out of nowhere. There were other people too that I'm trying to think. Verdum was another one I think that they cut, like, former heavyweight champ.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to me, like, the way that they just do that sometimes, and it'll come completely out of nowhere. And it's definitely to just save money, but I hate it because, you know, in other sports, like I'm a Yankee fan. So, like, I remember, like, when Derek Jeter retired in his last game, like, he hit that walk-off, and, you know, he went out, like, in glory, pretty much. And in MMA, like, that's just almost never the case. Like, people like Khabib are, like, once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
Because Chael Sonnen always says this, and I agree with it. It's like, you know, no matter how good you are in MMA, most people's careers are going to end the same way. Face down, ass up, and embarrassed. And, like, that's just... It's just tough to see, like, legends, like, lose in, like, ways like that. And
I mean, well, even Khabib's case, like, you know, just an unforeseen circumstances, what, you know, pretty much, like, led to his retirement. So, like, if
Well, people are still debating him and Oliveira right now.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows how
I think
that
Khabib
goes.
Fuck him up, but that's just me. I like Khabib. I think that.
I think Khabib definitely wins, but I don't know. I feel like it would go like Charles would just make just one absolutely detrimental, crucial mistake that someone like Khabib would just capitalize on instantly and just.
It's just like if he gets too good of a position on Charles, which I think Khabib would be able to do. I think that's just a rough night for Charles.
Yeah.
Probably eating a lot of elbows and people want to say that he's a quitter. I think that one might make him tap. I don't know. I think that Khabib honestly could submit Charles Oliveira. And I think Islam could very well do that too if they fight. That lightweight division's interesting as hell, man. But back to kind of what I was saying before though, I feel like it's just so tough though, because you get into the sport and you have the people that you like. And then when they start to get older, they get fed to these younger dudes or girls in some cases, and they get beat by these people just to so they can make a name. It's just
Donald Cerrone, for instance.
There you go. And then who's some other ones? There's Tony Ferguson even losing to Beneil Dariush or Charles Oliveira even that was the big fight for Charles. That was the big fight for Beneil. So it's just it sucks to see fighters who should be considered the greats of the sport and they get no respect and they don't get any of that treatment because look at Tony Ferguson for example we talked about him kind of after that fight but he literally brought back the sports with that fight with Justin Gaethje that's just something that'll go down in history. And then even before that though he was always fighting killers when he came up. And then he won the interim belt versus Kevin Lee, tore his ACL, and they stripped him so they could give Conor a title shot. How fucked up is that? You guys on a huge win streak deserves the title shot just as much. Because I will say this, because there's a lot of times when Conor got title shots that he probably didn't deserve. I will say this: he never did lose his title at that point.
No.
So I can't be mad that he did get a title shot, but stripping Tony. That's just ridiculous. It sucks that Tony and Khabib never happened. Tony's inhuman though. I'll always give credit to Tony Ferguson when I can because he's I've always said just one of my favorite fighters. We were talking about him to a few people yesterday too. People love Tony Ferguson, man. It's just he's just a fan favorite. And then I said he's on a 4-fight losing streak now. Who you never would have thought that. I remember that fight with Edson Barboza. He's literally walking this guy down, getting hit with leg kicks, punches to the face, jab, and he's literally just smiling, walking him down. And then now you just see him losing to these guys who the UFC are trying to make into bigger stars through him. It's just I don't know. It's tough to see that. And JDS was always one of those people too. Francis Ngannou beat him. Rosenstruck beat him too, right? I know Cyril Gane did too. Remember that fight?
Yeah.
I remember that was when I first was getting you big on the Cyril Gane because that was his first big test against JDS, and that's the perfect example right there. Cyril Gane had only fought a certain level of opponents. They gave him that step up in junior, and at the time obviously junior's chin is weaker, and he got hit with a huge elbow in that fight. I remember. It's just. I hate seeing that though. I feel it's messed up, and we've talked about the UFC Hall of Fame too, how, I wouldn't say corrupt, but if you're not cool with the promotion, you're probably not getting in. Which is I said, Randy Couture, I don't think is a UFC Hall of Famer, which is kind of mind-boggling. So I just don't like how that happens sometimes. But I guess we won't end it on a negative note. I will say going back to just the card that we had for. As lackluster, I guess, as a main event as some people thought it was. I thought it had its moments. Like I said, Chase Hooper, that was a great fight. I loved seeing him get a win because he's had a rough go lately. You got people making names for themselves like Cheaty and then Ugly Man Joe Holmes. So, I mean, it looked like an ugly fight night on paper, but it was pretty sweet in the end, and that's usually how they all are. But
it was a pretty exciting card, I think, for sure.
Yeah, no, and next week, we finally have a week off from it. We'll probably think of something to just make some content for the pod. Maybe we'll go through MMA Reddit again or think of something else. Who knows?
Yeah.
Definitely stay tuned for that. Talking Tough will definitely be out on Thursday. No sportsbook this week, obviously. And that'll be back next week. Obviously, that's always a great show. You guys got to tune into it. But yeah, I mean, we'll
coming back bigger and better. I'll say that.
Of course. Yeah, no, we'll definitely make some improvements to that. But you guys will see that the week after, because I think the next card is like Volkov versus Rosenstruck, which is actually, I didn't even remember that fight was booked. So when they were saying that on the broadcast, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm down to see that fight. I honestly, like off the top of my head, I don't know who wins that. So that's always interesting to me, like when there's not like a confident answer, because that means it's probably going to be a good fight.
Exactly, a heavyweight bout too, like that even just throws up like the volatility of how the fight can go. I mean, not even really like in a sense, it's just like, you know, so now you look at a heavyweight fight, especially a main event, and it's kind of not even main event. It's just you look at a heavyweight fight, and it's like, okay, if this fight doesn't go past the first, if this fight goes past the first round, like it's gonna drag and it's gonna be long. It's gonna go to the scorecards, and it's gonna be some like, you know, whack decision or whatever. But this one, honestly, either way it goes, this upcoming main event, I'm really excited to break down.
It's gonna be a fun one.
So.
But
yeah.
Like I said, Thursday will be the next Talkin' Tough. No sportsbook this week, but we'll be back next week after our little hiatus with it. Back better than ever. And, you know, next time you'll see me with Tiz will be next week for the Hurt Handbook and doing whatever we're going to do for that. So stay tuned for the rest of the pods coming this week, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.